Welcome to the Wealthy Actor Podcast. I'm Valerie Hubbard, an industry veteran with 25 years dedicated to helping actors navigate the business side of their craft.
And I'm James Hallett, a fellow lifelong actor and coach, joining Valerie on this journey.
Here on The Wealthy Actor, we're diving deep into the stories and insights of actors from all walks of life.
We'll be unraveling the threads of success, failures, and everything in between.
So if you're ready to embark on a journey beyond the footlights, join us as we sit down with fascinating actors, industry experts, and thought leaders to uncover the secrets of becoming a truly wealthy actor. I'm Valerie Hubbard.
And I'm James Hallett.
And this is the Wealthy Actor Podcast, where the art of acting meets the business of building a truly prosperous life in the spotlight. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wealthy Actor Podcast. My name is Valerie Hubbard, and I'm joined by my co-host,
James Hallett. Hey, everybody.
Hi. I saw James in a play called The Dragon, and he played the dragon. It was real Russian theater. He was brilliant. You were brilliant, James.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
I love Russian theater. It reminds me of when I was in Poland, and I just feel so connected to it. It was great.
Russians like to go on and on.
They like to go on. All right, we're going to welcome Mike Provenzano. He is a past client first today. He's our guest. Mike is a versatile on-camera performer, actor, and spokesperson with nearly a decade of professional experience across film, television, commercial, and digital media. Backed by almost 20 years as a business owner in the technology industry, this unique combination gives Mike a rare blend of creative instinct, real-world professionalism, and leadership qualities that consistently translate to confident, grounded performances on camera. As an actor, Mike has appeared in principal and leading roles in independent short films with a growing focus on film and television projects centered on authentic, character-driven storytelling. His natural screen presence and emotional accessibility allow him to connect easily with audience while serving the vision of directors and writers. In the commercial and spokesperson space, Mike is widely cast as trusted, relatable, brand representative, appearing in national commercials, corporate videos, explainer content, and testimonial-driven campaigns. His ability to communicate clearly, confidently, and conversationally makes him especially effective in roles requiring credibility, authority, and warmth. Mike is also an accomplished content creator and UGC performer, producing high-performing short-form video content for brands across lifestyle, wellness, technology, consumer products, and service-based industries. Drawing on his acting training and extensive previous business experience, he delivers content that feels authentic, natural, and engaging, never forced to overly scripted. In addition to performing, Mike has produced multiple short films and continues to expand his work in narrative storytelling. He is known on set for his professionalism, collaborative approach, and ability to elevate both creative process and final execution. Whether working in narrative film, commercial production, or digital content, Mike Provenzano brings distinctive combination storytelling ability, business mindset, perspective, and on-camera competence, making him a strong asset for filmmakers, casting teams, and brands alike. And I think what I want to say right now is I want to say, tell us how much money you've made so far this year doing these things.
$167,000 so far this year.
$167,000. Are we going to make it to two?
Not in 2 weeks. I don't think we're going to get there.
Well, lots of people want to buy in December. You will next year.
Next year, yeah. I'm not
250. But I want you to go for $1 million. You know that.
Yes, I do. Let's go for $1 million.
That's why he's our last guest, because this podcast is called The Wealthy Actor.
Yes, it is.
Mike, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the bio, man. I don't know who wrote that. It wasn't me, that's for sure.
You know, letting someone else celebrate you is so important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we live in a world where there's a lot of self-promotion, but self-promotion gets tricky. We get stuck in this place of like, can I do this? Am I ashamed of saying that I'm good? You're really good and you're doing really great. So please tell. I mean, my immediate question for you is, What form does the user-generated content take? And how would you describe it in your unique way? What does it mean to you, and how are you using it in terms of your own creation?
Sure. So for me, I'll go back a little bit in answering your question. A couple years ago, I started doing UGC stuff when COVID hit. We were in a lockdown. So I was like, okay, I can do this. And I cranked out a whole bunch of ads. I didn't get paid a whole lot of money, but I made 15 grand in 6 months where we weren't doing anything at all. And I was getting burnt out really fast because I was doing too many ads and it wasn't something I was used to doing. A few years later, looking at my numbers for how I was doing, I was like, hold on, I made more money working from home this year. I go, I wonder if I focused on it, what would happen? And now here we are 2 years later, and I mentioned my number a little bit earlier. I used to look at UGC as that side hustle to everything else we're trying to do in the acting world, right? Because the acting world has those ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that I think acting is my side hustle now. I'm just doing so much more from home. UGC allows me to be creative. It's taught me a lot and it's actually gotten me better on camera because I do it every day now. You know what I mean? It's not like, I still audition and I submit to other projects, but now I'm actively working every single day and I'm constantly looking at, like, I'm one of those guys that constantly goes, all right, what can I do differently? How can I do it better? How can I do it more relatable? How can I, whatever the whatevers are?
Hmm.
But yeah, it's given me so much freedom. And the best part is I'm home with my family all the time, you know? And
Yeah,
that's, I think, huge.
that's fantastic. Val, if you don't mind, I want to ask a follow-up question.
Please go.
So you made the switch during COVID, and what was your source of information? How did you approach it that you sort of went, oh, I'm going to engage in this and make money at this? Was it TikTok? Was it Instagram, YouTube? Was it reaching out to companies? How did you launch into this?
It was a fluke. Everybody that's made it a higher level, they all said it's luck, right? I look at this the same way. It was luck. I had a company reach out to me saying, hey, we saw you on Backstage. Would you be interested in working with us? And I'm like, sure, why not? Got nothing else to do while we're in lockdown. I didn't do any research. I didn't go on social media. I was like, yeah, I can talk on camera. It was weird at first because I was memorizing stuff and then I wasn't off book and then I'd screw it up and I'd do it again and I screw it up and I do it again. I'm like, man, these take forever. That was the thought pattern I had going in my mind because I wanted everything to be perfect, just like we expect commercials to be perfect, right? That's the expectation I set for myself
Mm.
incorrectly, by the way. I didn't do any research. I didn't go on YouTube. I didn't know anything about it, but I'm just one of those guys that will try something out. And if it works, I'll keep going with it. If it doesn't work, I'm like, all right, let's stop doing that and go do something else. So that's kind of how it started. It wasn't like I set out to stop acting and start doing this. That wasn't the intent at all. And I still don't like that's not my intent. I still want to be a principal on the Hallmark Channel. That's a goal that I set years ago and it's still there. This is just allowing me to continue my dream and not have to do something else to feed my family.
I would just like to say it's not luck. You were on Backstage and you were well branded. We just taught a UGC class. Well, Mike just taught a UGC class. Mike and Jordan, I was the host. There's so many platforms now where you can find work, but Jordan is like swears by Backstage. It's all on Backstage. And there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work. And the thing is, a lot of people that aren't actors are doing it. So you already have a skill set, which is really cool. When you got serious, what when you realized, oh, I made more money doing this, what did you do differently after that?
Yeah, you're right about the Backstage thing. I book a ton of work on there. I feel like that's my pitching stage, Backstage. But so what I did was what I did when I first got into the industry, right? When I first got into the industry, I was like, nobody knows me at all. How am I going to make a living doing this? So I cast wide. I threw my net every which possible way. I reached out to a gazillion agents. I submitted to everything under the sun. It's a numbers game, right? When I realized that I was doing better working from home, I said, I'm going to go after that. I'm going to start submitting to everything that I can possibly submit to. And that's what I started doing. The nice thing about being a few years in is that I now have companies reach out to me. I have those inbound leads coming in almost every day. I get one a day, which is kind of cool, right? But some of them are repeats. I saw you on Backstage and I think you'd be perfect for their ad. So I just put the pedal to the metal and started looking for this type of work. Whether it was Backstage or Casting Networks or any of the other sites, the bulk of it is on Backstage, right? On Instagram, I started really paying attention to ads. Whenever I saw something cool or something that resonated, I would reach out to the brand on social media. And the return on that's much lower than the return on Backstage. I land deals that way. And I just had somebody reach out to me this morning that saw me on Instagram and said, "Hey, we're doing this health thing. We'd love to have you on board." So the inbound stuff is making it a little bit easier. Like I said, from how I started in the acting industry 10 years ago, I did the same thing. I just put my focus on looking for opportunities and submitting to them. I don't understand how so many actors don't do that, right? Even going back years ago, I don't get it. But that's really what I did. I just
That's
focused
why
on.
you're like the perfect client because you already think the same way I do. I don't
Uh-huh.
have to reinvent the wheel with you. You
Yeah.
get it. You get that the only reason you're not working is because no one knows who you are. Talk a little bit about the investment to make money. You had to buy new equipment. You had to up level what you were doing, right? So, because I think a lot of times people go, "Oh, I'm going to make all this money," but you have to spend money to make money. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. When I started doing it, I just did what everybody else did. I used my cell phone, and that was fine at the beginning. And just like with self-tapes, we had to enhance our quality. As a guy that was in technology all my life, I have that advantage of looking at something and going, yeah, I don't like it. I want better than what I have. So through progression, I bought a ring light because the ring light was the thing. But I didn't like it because they were cheaply made when I bought one originally. It would be there and all of a sudden it would drop. I'm like, come on. And I was like, all right, well, now I need a microphone because I'm too far away from my phone. Right. So I went out and bought a wired mic because I wanted it to be clean, right? And then I was like, let me go get a wireless. So then I bought a wireless microphone, and all I hear is whenever I was doing anything. I'm like, all right, well, that doesn't work for me. I need something better than that. So, and because I was going after multiple things at the same time, because I was going after UGC work, the spokesperson from Homework, I bought a green screen, the cloth one that went up on this cheap little stand, and I hated it, right? Then I bought that expandable backdrop that we all needed for our self tapes, and I couldn't stand that. So I decided to get a Varipole system for my backdrops. If nobody knows what that is, look up and you'll see three screens. You'll also see a microphone right above me, and you'll see a light that's even higher, and you'll see all these panels on the way up. I think the first major purchase I made was a camera. I said, I want for doing spokesperson work from home, a phone's not good enough. Even though a phone does 4K recording, it's not clean enough. So I was like, I'm gonna go out and buy a camera. So when I bought a camera, I was doing the wireless lav thing that was rustling, and I'm like, I gotta stop. I call up B&H. You ever do the video calls with those guys? They're great because it's like working through what I'm dealing with and what I'm looking for. They help me pick out a camera, the microphone, the lights, everything that I have. I usually work through them to get an idea. I was using an iPad for my teleprompter, and that was okay, but I knew I could do it way better because I've been on set and they've got real teleprompters and they work really well. So I went out and bought a really nice teleprompter. So I can do everything from my computer now, right? So I don't have to use an iPad. You got to go up there, you got to stop it, you got to bring it back further because nobody had a remote control that would work with any of the teleprompter software. So you advance it and then you go back into your spot. Hopefully you hit the same mark and you wait for the part where you left off to start over again. Investing in the technology to help went a long way. Recently, I've upgraded or I've bought more stuff, right? Now, the stuff that I'm buying isn't as expensive, but it's just as important. Like I bought a gimbal for my phone, right? For the UGC stuff, because now I want to be moving, but I don't want to hold the phone at the same time. I have a podcast setup. So while you guys are talking, I can fake it if you want and say, look, I got a microphone right here, even though it's not on. Clients don't know that. They don't need to know that. The microphone up there is always recording when I'm using my camera, and it looks like I have a podcast setup. Now, that is a nice microphone that I use for voiceover stuff, but you have to continue to invest in yourself. Show me a business that doesn't put money back into the business to make the business grow.
Off.
don't do that and you just take the money and you spend it, you're going to hit a wall at some.
Yes.
I've had that camera now for 3 to 4 years, and I had an issue about 2 weeks ago. I'm going through all the settings and I can't figure it out. So what do? I go back to B&H, and like I said, it's like, hey, here's the problem I'm having. They're like, all right, try this, try this, try this. And he was like, well, which camera do you have? And I got Sony A7C, and he goes, ooh, they discontinued it. We don't have it anymore. So let me go grab the 7AC Plus or
Mhm.
whatever to try to compare. So
Mhm.
yeah, just continuously having tech that works and you understand how to use it easily when you do your setup. It's so like I've got multiple tripods for different reasons. I've went with the shitty ones that are fluky and clumsy, and I've got better ones now because I don't want to worry about it. And it allows you, and I say this on the acting side, I say it on the UGC side, that when you have the tech down, you got your lighting covered. You don't worry about your mic audio. You don't worry about any of that stuff. You can focus on your performances.
Yep.
So it's just constantly like I got a 16 Pro last year, and I'm like, do I need to get a 17? I don't need one. Maybe next year I'll get the 18.
I'm curious. You said you got to spend money to make money. So, talk to us a little bit more. Like, when you get paid, do you have a system? Do you pay yourself? Do you pay the house? How do you deal with your money?
Yeah. Well, I'm in the process of changing how I deal with my money for next year. Now that I'm in Florida, I formed a new LLC. I'm forming an S-Corp right now. The paperwork's literally right here that I have to sign and send back. So next year, I will treat it a little bit differently. Mike Prov creates the business, not Mike Provenzano, the person, right?
Right.
So I'm still learning all of that. I don't understand how it all works yet, but I'll understand how it works January 1st. I know what my expenses are every month. We moved down here last year and we've been upgrading. When you move into a new place, you're doing this, you want to change this, you want to change that. So we're doing all that. And I've pissed away more money than I'd like to say. You know what I mean? You just moved, Val. You know what I'm talking about,
I know. That's
right?
me.
For me, it's, I've got multiple accounts. All of my payments are auto pay. I don't want to remember to have to pay anything. It just automatically happens. So I just move money from one account to another account. Obviously, I get an alert when one account drops below a certain amount, and then I got to do something. My goal is to throw as much into a nest egg as possible for
Right.
long term. When you're just like we just put a pool in, and that was ridiculously expensive. And then we had to buy the furniture for it. Then, my car broke down and I had to put a bunch of money into that. And it's just like, please, will the bleeding stop? You know what I mean? So I deal with it the same way everybody else does.
I don't
My
think so.
goal, I mean,
Some people are
I think
listening to this and feeling overwhelmed by it, but I want them to. That's why I asked you.
I think the big thing though is that for me, it's not just about how I spend it. I'm pretty frugal when we go out and find stuff, but we bought new furniture. So we wanted quality. So we paid a little more than we probably needed to, but I know I'm not going to worry about that stuff going bad and needing to be replaced. What I found over time is that you have to know where your money is, right? You've got to
Yeah.
know how much people owe you. I was talking to somebody yesterday and I went into my AR and I have about 30 grand on the street right now, which is a lot of money that people owe me.
Can you tell everyone what AR is, please?
Yeah, you always ask me to say that whenever I say
Because they
AR.
don't know what it is.
Yep. So AR is accounts receivables. In the business world, there's AP and AR, right? AR is the money people owe you. AP is the money you owe, accounts payable. Years ago, I recognized before I even started doing this that I didn't have any system to track if somebody owed me money. Now, granted, I was doing the normal stuff actors were doing before content work of doing a commercial here, doing industrial there, booking film here, doing that stuff. Now, I was blessed. I was booking regularly. You know what I mean? So I had a decent amount coming in early on. It wasn't wonderful money, but I couldn't complain because I was working steady. But I recognized one day that I did this job and it went through one of my agents and I never got paid. It was $1,600 8 years ago. I'm like, that's a lot of money, right? And I'm like, I reach out to them like, hey, I don't show ever getting paid for this. I didn't have a system. I'm going into my bank statements, going through every single one of them to see if there's anything anywhere close to it, and there's not, right? So they go back, they check with the client. Client says, sorry, we missed it. They made their mistake. But if I didn't catch it, I never would have got paid, period.
Yeah.
As I've grown, I've recognized that I also need to continue to have my systems grow with me. I want to hit 250 grand next year. I need a better system than I'm using now for collections. I'm doing 15 to 20 grand a month. I don't have that much that's like old, you know what I mean, out there, which is good, right? However, if I don't understand a client's billing methods to pay me, I don't find that out until I go back and say, hey, this looks like it's 60 days old. I haven't been paid. Can you tell me what the deal is? And they're like, well, did you submit an invoice? It always turns into did you, right? First. That's always the first question that a client asks. Exactly.
Did you file
Did
this?
you?
No, because I
It's
didn't
like,
know I was supposed to.
correct. So now what I'm doing is that as I've got a good invoicing process, I do a job, I invoice it as soon as I hit submit, right? As soon as I send the work, then I go and create the same day I'll create the invoices. Now what I'm doing is as I'm sending the footage, I'm sending an invoice in preparation for them because they don't have to do anything with it until the content's approved. If they come back and say, hey, can you make a tweak here or tweak there? I'm like, yeah, no problem. But they already have my invoice and they can sit on it until they bless the content and then they engage, right? I don't have to re-engage and ask the question. But I don't even know if that's enough. So I'm overhauling a whole lot of stuff going into 2026.
Honey, I know all about that. That's what I have been doing myself in this company. It takes a lot of organization. It also takes hiring someone, Mike.
I hired an editor to help me
You did. I'm so
recently. Yep.
proud of you.
Recently, I was like, because there's things that I know, James, I know how to, I figure stuff out, right? I want to know how to do things because that's just me, right? When you grow up in the technology industry, you have to. I worked at a computer company and the company is continuously using the technology that we were selling. So you had to learn stuff. I've always been, learn it on my own, or learn what somebody else did or whatever. But yeah, it's just,
So,
editing is something I can do and I want to be great at it, but I also don't want to be great at it because I want to perform. I don't want to be an editor. Adding all those little pieces
mm.
just makes you more marketable, I think.
Two questions. I'm also a computer geek. I love learning new software. I love working. What software or process do you use for editing? And the second question is, do you have an invoicing and financial software that you use for your
All
business?
right, let's talk about editing first. So editing, I use for content creation, I use CapCut, right? It makes sense. It's easy to use. It's easy to learn. It's clunky because you got to figure stuff out along the way. I still use iMovie for horizontal stuff, even though I probably don't need to. I could probably just do it all on CapCut. I have I think it's Adobe Premiere, but I haven't learned it yet. I just haven't had the time to learn it. When TikTok shut off, we needed a solution. And I didn't know what it was going to be. So I reached out on social media and was asking people what they were using. A lot of people said Adobe Premiere. So I'm like, okay, I got it. I have it. And I haven't really learned it yet. It's because when you're going from iMovie, anybody can use it if you have a Mac. CapCut's similar. You got a phone, you can figure out how to use CapCut, right? Now I do everything on my Mac. I download Adobe Premiere. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's taken me way longer to do something than it should, and I know it, but I'm also learning it. Thankfully, the CapCut thing didn't stay turned off for too long, and I just stopped using it. So they're the programs I use for editing purposes. As far as finance, I'm still in the dark ages. I have a site that I use for my invoices called Invoice Home. I just create it all on there. It gives me nice reporting on there for billing stuff, for tracking. If I've got pay, like I get a payment, it's easy to apply it on their system. On the other side, it's all spreadsheets. I'm not thrilled about spreadsheets. I don't like having to do all that work at the end of the quarter or at the end of the year. But, that's where I am right now. I was planning on switching to Quicken a couple years ago, and I started using it. I'm like, this is terrible. It's got to be something better than this. I want a different platform. I just haven't found it. And I've talked to different companies and organizations that are doing content stuff, right? They're developing things for content creators. They're trying to give you accounting in one place. They're giving you an AR company for jobs you haven't been paid for that will try to track down your money.
There's a lot of opportunity for business. But as we've been talking about platformization,
So I'm not where I want to be yet as far as a lot of that is. But you know what? I also look at it as if I have to put some time into that stuff, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year, it's not the end of the world because my focus is still on performing. I was actually sharing this last night with somebody that I had a company I did a vertical with last year reach out to me and say, "Hey, we think you'd be great for a lead on this project in January. Are you available? And how much are you? And what's your rate?" So I sent him an audition last night. And as I was finished my audition, we were talking, the person that was doing the reading for me. And I was like, the part that I almost don't like to go on set for is because the backlog of work I'm going to have to deal with when I come back. You know what I mean? That's the struggle, but it's real. If I go on set for 10
Did you
days
give
or
him
eight
the
days,
$6,000 quote? What quote did you give him?
1,000 a day. Should I give him a 6,000?
That's 6,000 probably. How many
Yeah.
days?
So they didn't give me all that info. I already know what my number is. They
A
didn't give me
thousand
enough
a day is
information.
perfect.
That's what I figured. 1,000 is what I was going to go with.
Yeah.
But I don't have any of the detail. They said, send us your audition, then we'll give you all the details. So I'll probably get the details later today. It's 1,000 a day plus all expenses. It's going to be up in Jersey or New York somewhere. So they're going to have to put me up and travel me and all that other stuff.
Speaking of New York, New Jersey, you moved to Florida.
Mhm.
What are the blessings and the challenges of making that move?
The blessings are it's cold in New Jersey, isn't it? There's snow down
Freezing.
on the ground
It's
right now,
34
right?
degrees. Yes.
Liz just was there. I just picked her up at the airport and got home about a half hour before this. She went up Monday. She just had a short work trip, but it was snowing. It was 20 degrees out, and I don't miss that. You know, we have a pool open 24 or 24/7, 365 days a year. I don't have to close it. Just being able to go out into the sunshine every day is great. The downside is that I do miss the work I did with so many friends that I've made over the years. A quick example, I did a spokesperson work for a fence company, and I saw him sharing the job they were doing. Now, I knew the girl that was playing the one role because her and I had played husband and wife more times than I could count. I'm looking at it, and I see the guy that's doing the spokesperson work for him, and I'm like, that's supposed to be me, right? So that's the stuff that I miss.
Yeah.
While I still have agents submitting me up there, it's now more about does it financially make sense
Yeah.
to come up? And or is it a project that I really want to be a part of? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I would eat some of it, but I have so much family up there that I wouldn't worry about needing to stay somewhere. I love it down here. It was something we said let's do when we retire. And, Val knows a couple years ago I had prostate cancer and I was like, let's not wait. I don't know how long I'm going to be around, so let's do it now. My wife was like, okay, which caught me completely off guard. But when we sat down and had the conversation, it was like, you're right. Why move when we might be slowing down? You know what I mean? And we can't enjoy the way that way we are,
Yeah.
So, I'm glad we did. I get the golf routinely now, which I wasn't doing up there at all. But now I've got some buddies and we try to golf once a week now.
That is awesome.
It's a blast.
I'm also curious. I don't know if you're in the union or not. So you've stayed a working actor without union status. That's amazing.
I think it's because I do way more commercial stuff than I do film and TV. Now, Val and I have had this conversation many times. I want to be a principal on the Hallmark Channel. Crystal clear. You need the right agent for that. I'm not going to go there. Sorry, I can't believe I just said that.
I know you're doing seriously well as an actor. I'm going to speak for Valerie for a second because I've heard Valerie say it so many times. The answer is not the agent solution. It's getting yourself out there, knowing your brand, staying in contact, being a good business person.
You belong on a Hallmark show. You could walk on one right now and act on it. So when you show up to producers, directors, writers, or write your own Hallmark movie and sell it, right?
I have one ready to sell.
Well, the reason I think I was so successful on Disney, also because I broke the rules, the story, is because I thought in my head it was easy.
Mm.
Because I didn't think big stars auditioned for Disney, which was totally not true. When I first moved to LA, that was what I thought.
Yeah.
It's easy because it is.
Oh, it is. You're right. The one thing I've learned, I hate starting off with the one thing I learned because I've learned so many things. And but one of the things is that you're in control of your own destiny. A lot of people believe that, well, I can't do this unless somebody else does that. You can't be on a Hallmark movie unless somebody hires you, or you make one yourself, right? And which some people can do, some people physically can't afford to do that. But yeah, I've learned if you have hustle, and a desire to get somewhere, I'm getting there. I don't even think twice about that anymore. I still want to do it, but if my focus was on that 100%, I would have already done it. My focus is, providing a meal every day and a roof and all that stuff for my family, and that's
Yeah.
more important to me.
And you're doing a great
We
job
do
of it.
$1 million next year, then yes, I will make a
Okay.
Hallmark film.
I want to help you figure that out.
Here we go.
Think really big.
Mhm.
Great. What else, James? Does anyone in the audience have a question? There's a lot of people in the audience here. Type it in the Q&A because I would, right? But I think that don't let money scare you. I'm so glad we're spending the last podcast of the year talking about money.
Yeah.
It's called The Wealthy Actor. It only makes sense.
Another question that I have for you is you do user generated content, but user generated content doesn't it doesn't mean necessarily ads. It can also be vertical television. So have you created any vertical television yourself?
I'll talk a little bit about that. I have a friend of mine who wrote something that we could turn into vertical. When we looked at it, we looked at two companies, Good Shorts, and I forget the other one. You basically sign the rights away to just have it on there. So we were kind of like, I saw that and I'm like, all right, that's red flag number one. I don't want to just give it all up. You know what I mean? So we kind of put a pause on that until something will change at some point in time. I don't think I'm the one that wants to create an app for it, but who knows? Nowadays, it's probably pretty easy to do. User generated content just opened the doorway. It made it wide open for me. I still go after all types of work. Spokesperson work. Probably told Val this last month. I brand new client, $6,500 like that. Took me like 5 hours to do the work. Hopefully they're not listening to this. But it was great. They found me.
Your ability to do it quickly does not in any way decrease the value.
Correct. It does not.
Your ability to do it quickly shows that you're a professional, you know what you're doing, you have the right equipment, and you have skill. So really, when we talk about value, it's important for me as a business person to get off the idea that I'm paid by the hour, because that's a trap. Then we think of ourselves always as a worker employee. I hear that in you, and I just want to lift up the fact that your ability to do it quickly reveals your skill, your ability, and your preparedness, which makes you more valuable rather than less.
I agree with you 1,000% on that. I had one guy try to hire me to do user content work. He did the first round himself, needed somebody else to do the second round. He knew how long it took him to do it, right? So he set his value for the job. And I said, no, right? It's like, you want to pay me $2,500? Okay, I'll do that work for you. But he wanted to pay me $200 for something that I know how long it's going to take. It's not going to take me long. It's going to take some other people longer, and you're right about that. But he was completely missing the fact that he was going to have 10 ads or maybe 15. And I was like, yeah, sorry. That's the nice thing about when you start having success, you can start to choose the work that you want to do and that you wouldn't want to do. I've learned that I don't want to work with idiots or assholes. You don't always know it on the front end. You figure it out after you send them the first batch of footage and then they derail it big time. I had a guy do that to me a couple months ago. And he asked me to give him a quote on something else. I said, no, I'm not interested. He thought my quality was very bad. I've been doing this for 5 years, and this is the first time somebody had said that to me. I'm going to take it with a grain of salt and not work with him again. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
We have a question.
Awesome.
Cool.
You want me to read it?
Hi, Anna. Hi, Mike. Thank you for sharing all the insights. How does being a professional actor help with creating UGC? And in what ways are you finding similarities with acting and UGC?
Acting helps me do UGC because I understand the basics and from an acting standpoint. I've done enough commercials, enough infomercials to understand what it takes to put something together, right? I know how to perform without going big, right? Unfortunately, in certain types of projects, like vertical, for example, they want you to go big all the time and you go way bigger than you're trained to go. On the UGC side, they want you to be you. They don't want you to be the trained actor who gets it perfect. They want you to be relatable. They want you to be talking to a friend because when an actor stands and talks to the camera, they do it one way. When they talk to a person right next to the camera, they do it completely different because they're talking to a human being. They're not looking at themselves. And when people watch the two, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm night and day in how I interact with a human being versus how I do as a camera. And so the acting side of me taught me what all my ticks are and what not to do. When I didn't remember a line, I'd look for it up there. It was never there, but I'd always look up for it, or I'd rock, or I'd move around. I got called on it in class, which was great because I didn't know I was doing it until I saw it. So they're the things that acting helps with because you've already learned the process to memorize lines. You already know framing for the most part. There's a lot of things people don't realize. However, when you turn your phone vertically, I don't have this much space anymore. I've only got this much space. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody go like this in vertical mode because they think it's being seen and it needs to be over here. That's the stuff that acting I learned from. I know about lighting. I've seen enough to know that it's not just performing. The other thing it taught me is acting taught me that you got to get it right. When you do spokesperson stuff or even some of the UGC stuff that's pharma or legal, you got to get the words exact, right? If you don't get them exact, you do it again because it's got to be exact because it got approved from legal. On this side, they don't want that. You don't have to be perfect. You can have a stutter. You can have a like that. You can have that thing that we all do when we're thinking, right? It's all right. What's that? What's that word?
And
Whatever it
also
might
what I
mean.
see that I like is like, even like, oh, hey, you guys, listen, I have to tell you what just happened to me. So it's like you're coming from someplace and really in the scene. It allows you to, I've seen that a lot, coming from somewhere, going to somewhere.
Yep. But the other things that the acting side bring is I know my brand, right?
Yeah.
I know my type. People doing UGC work have no idea what that even means. I brought that up to somebody and like, what are you talking about? They had no idea what I was referring to because I learned that on the acting side. Nobody teaches that on a content standpoint. And the similarities, I would say I'm performing every day, right? I'm performing and I'm bettering my craft. So in the acting world, we're all told do something every day to continue to advance yourself, right? To hone in your skills, to make them better, make them stronger, and all that stuff. I get to do that because I'm actively acting every single day. Now, a lot of the stuff that I do on the UGC side is relatable, it's authentic. I might be reading a teleprompter, but I don't come across as reading. I know how to put the pauses in. I know how to screw the line up on purpose. I was doing an audition last night and I screwed the line up I did it, I added a little improv to it. And my reader was like, you just said, I know, where did I say it? And I went, all right, let's do it again. I'll do it without the, this time. I said it again and it caught me. It's like, all right, that's where I did it last time. So there's so many similarities. It's crazy. But the beautiful part of it is it's all me as an actor. I do different things in our industry because I can, right? People say, pick a niche and go after that niche, and that's it. One coach I heard say that, and I'm like, don't do that. It's kind of like being typecast. Granted, being typecast, there's nothing wrong with it because you're getting cast routinely, right, for the same character type. But if you limit yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. I think somebody asked us a question during our class, Val, that said, I want to go after local work. And I'm like, why? There's an entire world of companies that are paying you to do this type of work. Why would you limit yourself? If I go down the street and I talk to all the retailers, you walk in the door, they don't have any time for you, right? Nor do they, that's not even a thought in their mind that I can hire somebody that lives near me to come into my shop or into my store and talk about blank, right? They don't think that way. They just do it themselves or they do it in-house or whatever. But when you realize that there's an entire world of companies that can hire you from anywhere around the world, now you can pick and choose your jobs instead of being limited to one thing.
I do want to say though, like I was coaching Anna, who asked the question yesterday, and she's doing the UGC. She took the class. And I said to her to focus in on the things that she has relationship with,
Oh,
right? I think
definitely.
especially when you're trying to start something. We were talking about the hook, right? And
Hmm.
the stuff she was showing me, it still needs a hook. And she had debilitating acne. I hope she doesn't care, but she solved it. That's a hook, right? To
Yeah.
say, I had really bad acne as an actress. This is what made it go away. She
Yeah.
can sell that to every face company. It doesn't
Yep.
necessarily have to be true,
Mhm.
but she can just go for the thing that did change her life. She's got a ton of cosmetics. So
Uh,
she's got a whole drove of stuff there.
and you're right about when you're starting.
Yeah.
Pick the things, and I say the same thing, and I know I said it in class. People that are starting out that have no footage at all in this space, pick three products that you have in your house that you use,
Yeah.
that you love, and talk about them for 30 seconds. I said, put three different outfits on, do three different locations, and if you don't know how to edit, hire somebody to make it look really cool because then it looks like it's a real ad, right? That you actually did. Somebody asked me to review something that they put together a couple weeks ago. I'm watching it, and right away, I'm like, hooked me in just like that because he was talking like this. And I'm like waiting for the pop. He hooked me by talking very, very quietly and very low. And then after the hook, he kept talking the same way. And I'm like, oh, he talked that way the entire time. And I told him, I said, dude, you hooked me at the beginning because I thought you were going to go different. And that's how he is. And he's a new guy doing this stuff as well. It's interesting how different you need to be in different parts.
Mike, if someone wanted to see stuff that you've done to get a sense of what we're talking about, where would they go?
Yeah, the easiest thing is just go to my websites. My main website is mikeprov.com, and then my content page is mikeprovcreates.com, and both link to the other. But if you go to mikeprov.com, you'll see some of my content work. Mike Prov Creates has more of my content creation stuff.
We'll put those in the show notes. Mike, this was an amazing way to end the year. You have been a phenomenal guest. I'm so amazed by, your knowledge of system and always bettering yourself. It's really an inspiration. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Val. It's an honor and a blessing, but to share, hoping that someone will take just one action and implement something new into their life to take themselves to the next level.
Thank you for the inspiration. It's really awesome. I mean,
Thank you. It was great to nice to meet you too, James.
the way in which you've moved forward with this, you started in COVID, right? So we're talking 5 years, and this is really fantastic to see your accomplishment over the course of 5 years.
That's the part that people need to understand that you can't open up a business today and magically have a whole bunch of business coming in. It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. You've got to build it. It takes time to build, but
Yeah.
you keep at it, you're going to get there.
All right, you guys have a happy holiday season and we'll see you in 2026. Thank you. Bye, James.
Bye, Mike.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.